everybody, Melissa Sorrentino here. I want to talk about improv and how it relates to your life and how your life intertwines with your improv. That's what the Improv Sophisticate is supposed to be about originally. So, okay, today I want to talk about physicality. Physicality. Things we do physically with our bodies and with our heads and with our faces and with our whole bodies, you know? Physicality, super important because improv is it's a stage art. It's visual. It's not just cerebral. It's not just words on a page. If it was, then seriously sit in two chairs on stage and just give a reading of a scene. But if you're going to be physically embodying the scene, that's more than just placement of your body on the stage. It is that too. So, you know, your body as a prop moving around in different locations on the stage, something to consider when you're considering it as a visual art. But I want to talk specifically about this guy, the instrument of physicality, okay? And the reason is because I have stuff going on in my life where I am all of a sudden kind of like reawakened to the importance of not just living out here in my thought world, but bringing it into my physical body. And I have a new job, and my job requires a lot of physicality. So it brought to mind something, gosh, I hope I can weave all this together in a reasonable amount of time, but really what I want to talk about, it's in the context of physicality, but I really want to talk about our identity, our personal identity, and giving ourselves labels and the danger of that and sort of why we do it, but why it's a little bit dangerous. And I am in a place in my life where I am actively and consciously trying to redefine myself so that I can relabel, I can remove this label I've put on myself, chuck that, and put a new label on myself that hopefully is going to help me moving forward. I never considered myself, I guess I'll say athletic, a dancer, nothing really very physically coordinated. Now, when I was a little kid, this is just personal stuff, you know, but I'm sure you have your story and you can kind of map it onto mine. But when I was a little kid, I think the first sport I ever tried was soccer. It was like zone soccer for little kids. And I didn't actually suck at it. I was okay, but I didn't understand the game because I don't come from an athletic family. And honestly, they were talking to us like as if we already kind of knew, like, well, of course you know soccer, but I needed things to be explained to me like, what is a goal? What are points? What, one team's going this way, one team's going this way. I mean, like basics that I guess they assume that you know. I didn't know. So I was like probably halfway through the little kid season before I was like, oh, I get it. We're trying to get the ball over here. Like, I really didn't understand it all. But physically, like, I could run. You know, when in school, when kids ran, I wasn't like the last kid to reach the finish line. I was somewhere really from the middle towards the front because I was very like, I don't want to say competitive. I don't want to say it, but I think I was. I think I still am. But besides competitive, I've always had like a lot of drive. So even if I'm like in a lot of pain, I would just like push. Very natural to me to be that way, or at least natural to my conditioning of my upbringing, blah, blah, blah. Point being, I just really, everything I tried was kind of like, it wasn't a fail, but it wasn't like some super awesome thing. The next thing that I tried to get involved in as a kid was gymnastics, which I thought was awesome. I think I was particularly drawn to the outfits and the cuteness of it. But I like the idea of being able to do flips and all that stuff. And so they had like this little entry, sort of like everybody showed up at the gym in the elementary school and they asked us to do stuff. And I guess it was tryouts. And I not only made the gymnastics team, I actually, like, they pulled a little subset of the grown-ups aside and said, like, your kids have a particular penchant for this, and we'd like to see them get in some private stuff. But I think my parents thought it was like a pitch, and didn't want to spend money. So somehow I think my mom ended up talking me out of gymnastics at all, which was kind of unfortunate because I think I would have enjoyed it and I think I would have excelled at it. But just through enough stops and starts, I sort of just landed in the camp of like, there's kids who do sports and I'm not in that group. And there's kids that dance or gymnastics or something like that, and I'm not in that group. And by the time I was in high school, I had completely convinced myself that I can't dance and that I'm horrible. And the reality was, I don't know if I have like a little bit of like physical dyslexia, if that's a thing, but oftentimes, like, I would get my left and my right kind of messed up. Like, so I'm doing the move and it looks the way it's supposed to look, but I'm doing it the other way. Or, and there's certain things dancers have that I'm just not a natural at. But at the same time, I move decently. I have agility. I have endurance. I have a certain strength. So even now, that I'm 40 something, I can go out to the club and I'm like, I'm moving very well, and I have way more like stamina and energy than a lot of people even younger than me. But at the same time, I'm not anything that you would consider legit, and I never have been. And I've tried many, many times to be involved in that world, and I always end up going, this is not my bag. All right. Long story short, I don't call myself a dancer. But something happened over the last like maybe decade where I went so far as like, I call myself sedentary. I call myself not physical at all. I consider myself to be actually even uncoordinated. And I am finding that I am physically aligning in this new job with that identity, and it is not helping me. So I am trying to go back in time a little bit in my own timeline and find a place where I feel that I can tell myself I'm coordinated, I'm average, if not a little above average when it comes to physicality. I am physical. I have stamina. I have agility. I have flexibility. I have muscle memory. I might not be, I'm not talented in it, but I'm not like horrible. I'm just fine. I'm okay. I'm perfectly average. That's important. And I'm recognizing that the more over the last even week, I think I consciously started saying, I am good at this. I have muscle memory is sort of the mantra that I keep saying. I have muscle memory. I'm reminding, my mind is reminding my body that it knows stuff. And then my mind is saying, hey body, I'm going to trust you. And then my mind is turning off and letting my body learn. And it is working. So the reason I wanted to bring this up in a video is because I think it is dangerous for us to label ourselves. One thing that I notice in the improv community, I'm sure this is across the board for all communities, but some of us are heavier than others. Some of us are more physically, agile than others. But what I notice is people who are less physical often end up just sitting in a chair and talking. And I think that that is something that should be challenged. I don't think that just because in normal life you sit in chairs and talk, that that's what you need to always be doing on stage. If that's taking place, that's a character choice. But there's no reason, if you're 300 pounds and you don't usually do anything but sit in a chair like at work because maybe you're a secretary or something like that, there's no reason whatsoever that you shouldn't play like a diva ballerina. And you don't necessarily need to make that be the bit of the scene. You could, and that might be a good gateway to getting toward that, but go ahead and be what you want. You be a crocodile, you could be a hot air balloon driver. You could be, a worm that lives in the middle of a daisy in a garden. It's improv, and it's totally, totally wide open. So disassociate yourself with all labels when you get on that stage, and try to very strongly identify with nothing but a clean slate. And when you're that clean slate, be like, hey, I can sing like Lady Gaga, and open your mouth and just see what happens. And if it sucks, but you can even just say it's great. And it is, because for the sake of the imaginary world we're creating, everything in improv is yes. So take advantage of that and enjoy it. But also in your real regular life, go ahead and play with the labels that you're giving yourself. It was only this morning while I was having breakfast that I suddenly had this revelation where I went, oh my gosh, even though I've been challenging myself physically for my new job, I'm talking too much. I'm telling other people I suck at this. I'm journaling. I suck at this. I'm like identifying with I suck at this. Not all the elements of the job, but this physical element. I keep identifying like I'm the person that sucks at the physical part of this job. I need to take off that label, set it down, and start putting on a label that's going to work for me. So I'm figuring out exactly what that is, but I have muscle memory is something that I'm going with right now. So I recommend that you find something, anything, even just you've heard this video today. How about over the course of the rest of this day, however many more hours you're awake, you listen to your thoughts, catch one of those thoughts with your net, pull it down, read it, and see if there's a label that you're putting on yourself that you could maybe tweak, and stop accepting the fact that it's somehow written in stone that you suck at A, or you've never been good at B, or you're not a C. Just switch the wording of that and repeat it to yourself enough times to see if you can allow your mindset of that to just step out of the way and let your physical body embody whatever it is that you'd like to be, rather than whatever you think you're already stuck being. It's not necessarily true. Okay, take care, guys. Talk to you later.